He knows the mother is always there. Anytime he's hungry, his needs will be fulfilled. He never eats too much. A well loved child remains healthy. He is neither thin nor fat. He keeps a balance. Just look at a small child. Whenever he feels tense, he will put his hand in his mouth. He will start chewing his own hand. And why does he feel good when his thumb is in his mouth? Why does the child feel good and go to sleep? This is the way of almost all children. Whenever they feel sleep is not coming, they'll put the thumb inside the mouth, feel at ease, and fall asleep. Why? The thumb becomes a substitute for the mother's breast. And food is relaxing. You cannot go to sleep on a hungry stomach. It is difficult to get to sleep. When the stomach is full, you feel sleepy. The body needs rest. The thumb is just a substitute for the breast. It is not giving milk. It is false thing, but still it gives the feeling. When this child grows, if he sucks his thumb in public, you will think he is foolish. So he takes a cigarette. A cigarette is not foolish, it is accepted. It is just the thumb and more harmful than the thumb. It is better if you smoke your thumb. You go on smoking to your grave. It is not harmful, it is better. And in countries where breastfeeding has stopped, more smoking will automatically be there. That's why people in the developed countries smoke more than people in underdeveloped countries. No mother is ready to give her breast to child because the shape is lost. In all primitive communities, a 7-year-old child or even an 8 or 9-year-old child will continue breastfeeding. Then there is a satisfaction and smoking will not be so necessary. And that is why a primitive communities men are not so much interested in a woman's breast. Nobody looks at the breast. If you had been given the breast for 10 years continuously, you would get fed up and bored. You would say stop now, but every child has been taken away from the breast prematurely, and that remains a wound. So all civilized countries are obsessed with breast. Children should be given the breast, otherwise they will become addicted to it. The whole life they'll be in search of it. Scientists have experimented with young children to see what they will do if they are left near food. You will think they would overeat. You are wrong. They don't overeat. Their mother and father overfeed them, saying, eat more, eat, get a little more robust. So a little radiance. Look at you, eat a little more. The mother is sitting on your chest saying, eat more, just a little more. The child is crying and somehow managing to eat. You often see children crying. His body is saying no. His body is saying, go outside, jump and leap a little, go climb trees, and you go on feeding them. The doctor says that every 3 hours the child needs to be given milk. The child is not drinking and he turns his face this way and that. But the mother goes on feeding him milk because 3 hours have passed. This following the average time does not work. When the child is hungry, he will cry. He himself lets you know. There's no need to look at the clock. The child has his inner body clock. But you go on running his clock, and each child will feel hunger differently. One will feel it in 4 hours, another in 3, another in 2. Now it is a great problem. A rule has been established, the rule of the average. Beware of the rule of average. The body has its own inner clock. Listen to the body, follow the body, never in any way try to dominate the body. The body is your foundation. Once you have started understanding your body, 99% of your miseries will simply disappear, but you don't listen. From the very childhood, we have been distracted from the body. We have been taken away from the body. The child is crying, the child is hungry, and the mother is looking at the clock. She is not looking at the child. If the child is not given food right now, you have distracted him from the body. Instead of giving him food, you give him a pacifier. Now you are cheating and you are deceiving and you are giving something false, plastic, and you are trying to distract and destroy the sensitivity of the body. The wisdom of the body is not allowed to have its say. The mind is entering in. The child is pacified by the pacifier. He falls asleep. Now the clock says 3 hours are over and you have to give the milk to the child. Now the child is fast asleep. Now his body is sleeping, you wake him up, you again destroy his rhythm, slowly, slowly you disturb his whole being. A moment comes when he has lost all track of his body. He does not know what his body wants, whether the body wants to eat or not eat. He does not know whether the body wants to make love or not. He doesn't know. Everything is manipulated by something from the outside, allowing the child to cry. From the very beginning, the child wants to cry, to laugh. The crying is a deep necessity in him. Through crying every day, he goes through catharsis. The child has many frustrations. This is bound to be. It is of necessity. The child wants something, but he cannot say what. He cannot express it. The child wants something, but the parents may not be in position to fulfill it. The mother may not be available there. She may be engaged in some other work, and he may not be cared for. At the moment, no attention is paid to him, so he starts crying. The mother wants to persuade him, to console him, because he is disturbed, the father is disturbed, the whole family is disturbed. No one wants him to cry. Crying is a disturbance. Everyone tries to distract him so that he might not cry. We can bribe him. The mother can give him a toy. The mother can give him milk. Anything to create a distraction or to console him. But he should not cry. But crying is a deep necessity. If he can cry and is allowed to cry, he'll become fresh again. The frustration is thrown through crying. Otherwise, with a stopped crying, the frustration is stopped. Now he will go on piling it up, and you are a piled up cry. Now, psychologist says that you need a primal scream. Now, a therapy has developed in the West just to help you to scream so totally that every cell of your body is involved in it. If you can scream so madly that your whole body screams in it, you will be relieved of much pain, much suffering that is accumulated. Toilet training. Great damage can happen with the toilet training when children are forced to go to the toilet at a certain time. Now children cannot control their bowel movements. It takes time. It takes years for them to come to a control. So what do? They simply force, they simply close their anal mechanism, and because of this they become anally fixated. That's why so much constipation exists in the world. It is only man who suffers from constipation. No animal suffers from constipation. In the wild state, no animals suffer from constipations. Constipation is more psychological. It is a damage to the energy system of the body, and because of constipation, many other things grow into the human mind. A man becomes a hoarder of knowledge, hoarder of money, hoarder of virtue, becomes a hoarder and becomes miserly. He cannot leave anything whatsoever. He grabs, he holds it, and with this anal emphasis, a great damage happens. When the child is ill, from the very beginning, from the very childhood, one thing almost always goes wrong, and that is that whenever a child is ill, he is paid more attention. This creates a wrong association. The mother loves him more, the father takes care of him more, the whole family puts him in the center. He becomes the most important person. Nobody bothers about a child otherwise. If is well and okay, it's as if he's not. When he is ill, he becomes dictatorial. He dictates his terms. Once this trick is learned, that whenever you are ill, you become in some way special, then everybody has to pay attention, because if they are not paying attention, you can make them feel guilty, and nobody can say anything to you, because nobody can say that you are responsible for your illness. If the child is doing something wrong, you can say you are responsible. But if he is ill, you cannot say anything, because illness is not in any way concerned with him. What can he do? But you don't know the facts. 99% of illness are self-created, generated by yourself to attract attention, affection, significance. And a child learns the trick very easily, because the basic problem for the child is that he is helpless. The basic problem he feels continuously is that he is powerless and everybody is powerful. But when he is ill, he becomes powerful and everybody is powerless. He comes to understand it. A child is very sensitive about knowing things. He comes to know that even father is nothing, mother is nothing, nobody is anything before me when I am ill. Then illness becomes something very meaningful, an investment. Whenever he feels neglected in life, whenever he feels I am helpless, he will get into illness. He will create it, and this is the problem, a deep problem, because what can you do? When a child is ill, everybody has to pay attention. But now psychologists suggest that whenever a child is ill, take care of him, but don't pay too much attention to him. He should be taken care of medically, but not psychologically. Don't create any association in his mind that illness pays. Otherwise, his whole life, whenever he feels something is wrong, he'll become ill. Then the wife cannot say anything. Then nobody can blame him because he is ill, and everybody has to pity him and give affection. The three stages of sex. The first stage is autosexual. When the child is born, he is narcissist. He loves his body tremendously and it is beautiful. He knows only his body, just sucking his own thumb, and he is in such euphoria, is on his face, just playing with his own body, trying to take his toe into his mouth, making a circle of the energy. When the child takes his toe into the mouth, a circle is created and the energy starts moving in a circle. The energy circulates naturally in the child and he enjoys, because when the light circulates, there is a greater joy inside. The child plays with his own sexual organs, not knowing they are sexual organs. He has not yet been conditioned. He knows his body as one whole, and certainly the sexual organs are the most sensitive part of his body. He utterly enjoys touching them, playing with them. And here is where the society enters into the psyche of the child. Don't touch, don't is the first dirty four-letter word, and out of this one four-letter word, then many more come. Can't, won't, these are all four-letter words. Once the child is told don't by the angry parent, mother or father, and those eyes, and the child's hand is taken away from his genital organs, which are naturally very enjoyable. He really enjoys it, and he is not being sexual or anything. It is just the most sensitive part of his body, the most alive part of his body, that's all. But our conditioned minds, he is touching a sexual organ, that is bad. We take his hand away, we create guilt in the child. Now we have started destroying his natural sexuality. Now we have started poisoning the original source of his joy, of his being. Now we are creating hypocrisy in him. He will become a diplomat. When the parents are there, he will not play with his sexual organ. Now the first lie has entered. He cannot be true. Now he knows that if he is true to himself, if he respects himself, if he respects his own joy, if he respects his own instinct, then the parents are angry. The child is the most exploited phenomena in the world. No other class has been so exploited as the child. He cannot do anything. He cannot make unions to fight with the parents. He cannot go to the court. He cannot go to the government. He has no way to protect himself against the parental attack. The first trauma has happened. Now the child will never be able to accept his sexuality naturally, joyously. Some part of the body is not acceptable, some part of the body is ugly, some part of the body is unworthy to be a part of his body. He rejects it deep down in his psychology. He starts castrating himself, and the energy recoils. Energy will not be flowing as naturally as it used to flow before this don't happen. This is the autosexual state. Many people remain stuck there. That's why so much masturbation continues all over the world. It is a natural state. It would have passed on its own. It was a growing phase, but the parents disturb the energy growing phase. Once he has started masturbating, it may become a habit, a mechanical habit, and then he'll never move to the second stage. He may remain stuck at the stage, which is very childish. He will never attain to full grown up sexuality. He will never come to know the blissfulness that can come only to a grown up sexual being. And the irony is that these are the same people who condemn masturbation and make much fuss about it. They have been telling people that if you masturbate, you will go blind. If you masturbate, you will become a zombie. If you masturbate, you will never be intelligent. You will remain stupid. Now, all the scientists' findings are agreed upon one point, that masturbation never harms anybody, but these suggestions harm people. If the child is allowed the natural phase of autosexuality, he moves on his own to the second phase, the homosexual. But very few people move to the second phase. The majority remains with the first phase. Even while making love to a woman or a man, you may not be doing anything else but just a mutual masturbation. The second phase is homosexual. Few people move to the second phase. It is natural phase. The child loves his body. If the child is a boy, he loves a boy's body. His body. To jump to a woman's body, to a girl's body, would be too much of a big gap. Naturally, first he moves in love with other boys, or if the child is a girl, the first natural instinct is to love other girls because they have the same kind of body, the same kind of being. She can understand the girls better than the boys. Boys are a world apart. The homosexual phase is a natural phase. Their society helps people to remain stuck again because it creates barriers between man and woman, girls and boys. If those barriers are not there, soon the homosexual phase fades away. The interest starts happening in the other sex, but for that, society does not give chances. In the colleges, they have to live in a separate hostels. Their meeting, their being together is not accepted. Homosexuality is perpetuated by the society and condemned by the same society. These strategies have to be understood. The same society condemns the homosexual, calls him pervert, criminal. There are still countries where homosexuality is punished. You can be sent to jail for years, and it is the same society that creates it. And the third phase is heterosexual. When a man is really out of homosexuality, then he is capable and mature to fall in love with a woman, which is a totally different world, a different chemistry, a different psychology, a different spirituality. Then he is able to play with this different world, this different organism.